Cordia, Tá an Ásarum, Shasvan Show, Torres Goblin Maruteron. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your tumultuous applause. I wish to start this, I suppose, one of my final addresses to Congress as USI President with a number of thank yous. Unfortunately, if I thank everybody who's helped me out over my career in student politics, we'll still be here next week, so if I leave anyone out, it's not on purpose. The people I wish to start with are the people on my right hand side or left hand side up here, and that's Steering and Elections Committee. I want to thank you all individually and collectively, particularly for your advice, be that personal advice or political advice, in the good times and indeed in the bad. Tonight, I wish to go on the record and thank you very publicly for your dedication and your hard work, to your volunteerism and for everything you've done for USI and for me. Thank you very much. To both my sabbatical teams in UCD, I was honoured and privileged to work with 9 very talented and extraordinary people. I also want to thank UCD Students' Union for everything that they've done, for everything they've given me, and for the great start I had off in the university career. Next, I want to thank both my officer boards. We had 2 very different years, it's fair to say, serving with 2 very diverse and different officer boards. I also want to thank the new staff at HQ, to Leo and Denise in particular. I wish to thank the Finance Committee, the newly reconstituted Finance Committee, who I'm sure will put in place the governance and strategies and operational procedures that this great organisation truly deserves, and to ensure the financial security of the organisation. The next 2 people I want to thank are both my deputy presidents. To Conan firstly, I first met Conan at GOS a number of years ago when he was president of TCD Students' Union. Myself and Conan got on very quickly, and that year worked together an awful lot on of different projects. And I was delighted when Conan said that he would like to run and be my deputy president if I was lucky enough to be elected to the office of USI president. To Colin, and Colin's a man that faces an awful lot of criticism from time to time. And I want to stand here this evening and say an awful lot of that criticism levelled against Colin is unreasonable, unjust and unfair. When you get Colin, when you've actually managed to get Colin out of bed in the morning, you give him a couple of hours to get going. But after that, he is one of the most intelligent people that I've ever met, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Colin, and I'm proud to call him my Deputy President. Thank you very much, Colin. So a few more thank yous before I get into the speech proper. Firstly, I'd like to thank my parents who 5 years ago at this stage told them I'd take a year out to run for a position in the Students' Union. And to trust me it'll all be fine and I'd go back next year. And then we had the conversation the year after, and the year after that, and then we stopped having the conversation. I want to thank my friends who've always been there to give me guidance and support, to talk me down when I'm going to do something stupid, to take me for a coffee, and to make me think about things rationally and reasonably. Some of them have been able to join me tonight, others haven't, but thank you very much. There's a couple of them I want to thank individually. A couple of them that ran each of my campaigns when I was the worst candidate in the world and still managed to get me elected. So thank you very much for that. To Aidan, to Paul, to Skinny, to Mike, Pat and to Brian, I owe you a debt of gratitude that I may not be ever able to repay. But thank you so much. There's 3 other people I want to address this evening. That's Kieran, Justin and Ben. And I've no doubt that tonight is very difficult for you. But a friend of me said when I was considering running for USI President, if you only ever ran an election you were guaranteed to win, you would never get far in life. And what I can guarantee you is that these are 3 people who have a very bright career ahead of them. Note, I would like to thank all of you from every corner of this island and from every background from which you've come from, for giving me the honour that only a handful of people have ever known. To lead an organisation whose purpose is to lift the hopes of a generation and fulfil the potential of a nation. On a day like this, I naturally have mixed emotions. I'm sad to leave the most challenging, exciting and humbling job that I could ever have. but I'd like to take a moment to look back with a sense of pride at all that we've achieved together over the past 2 years. I am proud of the fact that we finally managed to deliver the Student Support Act that helps students from financially disadvantaged backgrounds. I am proud of the fact that we've managed to introduce 5,000 workplace programs for students who would have been forced to emigrate. I am proud of the fact that we've managed to put an additional €4 million into the Student Assistance Fund to ensure the most vulnerable in society can remain in education. I am proud of the fact that we will have introduced a deposit protection scheme to protect students from vulnerable students from rogue landlords. I am proud of the fact that we managed to register 15,000 students to vote before election 2011 so that young people and the future of this country can have their say in how our country is governed. But most importantly, I'm proud of the fact that as a student movement over the past 2 years, we've stuck together as a united movement. These are all accomplishments of which we should all be proud of. Accomplishments that we have achieved together over the past 2 years, and accomplishments that not only every person in this room should be proud of, but every single member of USI across this island. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not naive enough to say that we have not had our faults, or indeed our failings. Fees have continued to rise, leaving thousands of our fellow students still at arm's length from education. The grant system does not yet serve all those who truly need it, and thousands of our friends, family members, classmates are still being forced to emigrate every single day. Every single day we lose our best and our brightest. As a president, I know I've definitely made mistakes. I know that I've made decisions that have not always been popular. But let me assure you of this. Let me assure you of this one thing with certainty. Any decision that I have taken, it has always been with the students of this country and indeed USI at heart. It would be remiss of me not to touch on the issue of funding and the referendum tonight. As many of you will be aware, at this Congress, I spoke quite openly about supporting a graduate tax. As I've said throughout Congress, my core fundamental principles are equity of access, and I'm going to continue to use this line over and over and over again. Education should always be based on your academic ability, and there should be no financial barrier of any sort whatsoever. The only way we can continue to introduce that is to ensure that education is free at the point of entry. But as important, equally as important, and this second factor is often forgotten about in this debate, is the quality of education. We need to continue to ensure that we can produce a quality of education, a quality of graduate that rivals the best and the brightest anywhere in the world. We are a small nation of 4.5 million people, but we have gone out there. Ireland has always been an outward-looking nation. We have gone out and competed with the best and the brightest, and we need to continue to do so. Thinking of some of the controversial decisions I've made and the opinions I've articulated, especially at this Congress, I am reminded of the quote of the famous Irish philosopher Edmund Burke. Your representative owes you not just his industry, but his judgment, and he betrays you instead of serving you if he sacrifices this to your opinion. USI is not a perfect organisation by any stretch of the imagination, nor will it ever be. No new president or new constitution could ever change that fact. But it is my opinion that the two overarching principles that we strive for and that drive our organisation are very close to perfection. Equity of access and opportunity for all. It is these two principles that we have campaigned on and marched for throughout our history. Whether it be for social causes, a fairer grant system, or proper supports for the most marginalised in our society, USI has always been on the right side of opportunities for all. We can take a great sense of pride that we have campaigned ahead of the rest of society for women's rights, for workers' rights, and still to this day, the rights of lesbian, gay, transgender and disabled people. We should also take a great sense of satisfaction that we have always placed our national language at the heart of our structures and continue to do so to this day. But of all our historical achievements, it is my personal opinion that the creation of NUS USI stands as one of our greatest achievements. 20 years before the Good Friday Agreement, USI and NUS put religion and politics aside to put the students of Northern Ireland first. And it's with great pride I can report to you today that NUS-USI is stronger today than ever before. In these tough economic times, it is easy for us to think not only of our individual interests, the interests of our own community or that of our own student body, that maybe we'd be better off putting our resources into our own national priorities, forgetting about USI, and thinking that another student body's problem is not ours to deal with. We should go it alone and we should look after ourselves. If you take anything from this Congress and from this speech, let it be this. We are all in this together. Together we're stronger. Ní náirc Comhairle Céile. We are not just the leaders of tomorrow, we are the leaders of today, and that means not turning your back on our fellow citizens. It should mean never turning to the problem and facing it should mean turning to the problem and facing it head on, shoulder to shoulder, united under our key principles of equity of access and opportunities for all. As leaders, let us reaffirm today that we do not simply believe in gay rights, heterosexual rights, women's rights, men's rights, disability rights. Let us stand together under the banner of USI, fighting for people's rights, equity for all, and never let us take the easy road on difficult issues and during these difficult and challenging times. Indeed, our country faces tough times, and we are living in difficult times. But as a people, we have faced far greater challenges and obstacles in the past. And never before has any generation of young Irish men and women been better equipped to deal with these challenges. And let it never be said by any future generation that we, at this time, were not willing to stand up, were not willing to be counted, and that we were not willing to act. Earlier on today, Uachtaráin na hÉireann, Michael D. Higgins, set every single person in this room a challenge. He set the student movement a challenge. And I want to send this message not only to Uachtaráin na hÉireann, but also to every single member of society. As an organisation, we are up to this challenge. We too are now prepared for the difficult task at hand. We now have the new structures to make us fit for purpose. We are ready to move into our new home, and we've just elected a new officer board, led by a man of compassion, strong work ethic, and a determined leader. And I've no doubt that our best days are yet to come. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, allow me to quote the late great Edward Kennedy, who articulates my thoughts at this moment far greater and far better than I ever could. For those whose cares have been our concern, the work goes on. The cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream should never die. Thank you very much.